Hi, I'm Lucy from Sew Essential and I'm here today with a roundup of patterns and fabrics from the Sewing Bee Series 9 final episode, episode 10, which was absolutely phenomenal. I absolutely loved it. We're a little bit late in the delivery of this video because I've been on holiday for a week, so I only watched it last night and I am brimming with enthusiasm and excitement, and I'm sure you guys were too when you watched it. So let me start by taking you through the patterns, the fabrics, and also I'm going to give you some tips and tutorials that I think were overlooked sometimes in the episode as well. So yeah, I'll put links to everything I mentioned below, including the tutorials, so do check those out. But the first pattern challenge was to make a Victoriana dress. I must admit I hadn't heard that terminology used before, but as soon as they showed the dress I knew exactly what they meant, and we have seen loads of them on the red carpet and on the high street as well. So we're looking for a very fitted bodice with darts. The dress on the Sewing Bee had a high round neck. It had a puff sleeve with a double frill around the hem. It was a short sleeve, and then it had a long skirt which was probably sort of like midi length, I would say, and then it was finished with a ruffle hem. So you know, a nice sort of sew. I love sewing a classic dress like that with some of those classic features, the fitted bodice, and also something that I think is very, very wearable as well. And depending on what the fabric you use, I'm going to stick with the evening fabrics that they used on the Sewing Bee, but you could make a dress like that in a floral print or something a bit more sort of day wear, and still wear it during the day. And you could even pair it with trainers or sandals for a more dressed down look. So quite versatile really, and I think it would be a lot of fun to sew. The pattern I chose was McCall 7971, which has got a few different views and I think would be a really useful pattern to have in your collection. It's also got cup sizes A, B, C and D, so that's always really useful if you're someone who has to make a full bust adjustment because your bust is bigger than, you know, the rest of your body measurements in the size chart. These patterns with the cup sizes give you a different pattern piece for the cups sort of area, the bust area. So that can save you a lot of work in terms of a full bust adjustment, and the fact that it's got 4 different views as well I think is great. So the view I'm focusing on is view B, which has got the very fitted bodice. They've all got that. They've got bust darts, they've got waist darts, they've got the crew neck, and then there's an option for a sleeveless version, a short sleeve version, a little flutter sort of cap sleeve version, or the version that would be closest to the Sewing Bees, which was a short sleeve version finished with a ruffle hem. And you could easily just create a second ruffle and do that double ruffle that the Sewing Bees did. The waist darts continue down into a princess seam onto the skirt, and it's got a really cute little cutout detail on the back actually, which I hadn't realised. That's a really nice little feature. And then the skirt you could easily lengthen. View C looks like it's about a midi length skirt anyway, so you could probably use that pattern piece and then add your ruffle and you'd be at the same sort of length as the Sewing Bees were. That pattern runs up to a size 22. All the sizes and everything are on the website, so do check out the links below if you want any of these patterns or fabrics or tutorials. But the fabric I chose, I thought I'll stick with the evening wear theme, and I chose our Mystique satin back crepe, which is going to feature a lot in this video. I chose this lovely sort of royal blue colour. You've got the high shine side. It's not satin back crepe actually, it's a satin, but it's a lighter weight double-sided satin, so you can use the matte side or the high shine side. And one of the dresses Asma made was in a gorgeous sort of electric blue, and it just made me pick this one out for this particular dress. Now, one of the techniques that the Sewing Bees used on this particular challenge was they kept calling it a baby locked hem, but what I would call it is a rolled hem on the overlocker. So it's a really simple technique to do. I think they sort of made out that it was more complicated than it is on the show, in all honesty. I've used it a lot to finish, they used it to finish the little ruffle sleeves and the ruffle on the hem. And it's just nice if you're working with like a delicate fabric and you don't want to turn a hem up in the usual way because you think, oh, it might be a bit bulky. You can finish it with this rolled hem effect that you create on your overlocker, and it's just a really nice delicate delicate, pretty finish. And I've used it before. I made a dress with ruffles round the bust, and I used it to finish that. It was made in a cotton lawn, and I just thought that like a normal narrow hem might be a bit bulky. And I've used it on loads of things, to be honest, loads of other projects I've made, but I'm going to pop a link to a tutorial that I did on that technique. I did a sort of overlock, a roundup of different techniques so that you can actually see that technique in action, but there's 6 other really clever tips and tricks for your overlocker in that video too, so I'll pop a link to that below for you. Then we're going to go on to the made to measure challenge, which was just phenomenal. That is the only word for it. The challenge the bees were given was to come up with a gown. The inspiration came from the Met Gala, where stars have been wearing one gown that then turns into another gown later in the evening. So I think the examples they gave were like Blake Lively? Ryan Reynolds' wife, Blake Lively. I think it is Blake Lively. Sorry everyone, my Hollywood knowledge isn't that great. I think I've got her name right. And then also Lady Gaga as well. They'd both been to red carpet events and had one dress that transformed into another dress. So they asked the bees to do that for the challenge, which really was a massive challenge. You know, so difficult to do. There was some drama. I'm not going to say too much because I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but it was really worth a watch. Like, it was such a good episode, and Asmaas' dress in particular absolutely blew my mind, and you could see that it blew the judges' minds as well. You could see it was just phenomenal. I know I keep using that word, but it's the only word I can think of to describe it. But let's get started with Mia. So Mia made a short fitted bodice, sweetheart neckline dress with little thin straps, and a gathered sort of full skirt. And the pattern I chose to recreate a similar look is Simplicity 9284, which is a really gorgeous pattern actually. The skirt isn't gathered, but you could make it into a gathered skirt, I'm sure, if you wanted to, but it is a very full skirt, so it gives the same sort of shape as Mia's dress, a very fitted bodice, and then it's got this really cute sweetheart design with like a special detail on the sweetheart, little sort of wide enough straps probably to cover your bra straps, and it runs up to a size 20, and I just thought it was a really pretty, lovely red carpet dress. Mia made a black version, so I thought, well, our black satin, Mystique satin would be great for that. Again, same as the royal blue, you've got the high shine black side, and then you've got a matte, a more matte side that you can use either side to your taste. So that was that one. And then the other gown that Mia made, which you know, it transformed into, was a similar sort of strappy design with a fitted bust, a gathered skirt, and it was a full length. And she, instead of using normal straps, she used some diamante sort of trimming, which was a really cute idea as well. And then she used this really glittery fabric for the main dress. The dress that I thought was quite similar to what Mia made, it was the Vicky Sews Iris dress, which is a really gorgeous pattern. It's got a very fitted sort of bust area. It's got darts, and it's got a seam that runs across the bust and comes into a V at the middle. It's got a sweetheart neckline, spaghetti straps, and then it's got a gathered skirt that's a full length skirt or a midi length skirt. It's got shearing on the back panel for a little bit of extra comfort, and I think that probably means you might not need a zip for this one, but do check out the full details on the website, they're all on there. But yeah, I thought that would create something similar. And again, just looking at our Mystique crepe for this one, I just thought a lovely vibrant pink. People are going mad for the pinks at the moment due to the Barbie mania. Not quite sure about what all the fuss is about myself. Everyone's going mad about it, and that might be quite controversial to say that, but I just haven't really paid any attention. I love Barbie as a little girl, but yeah, interested to hear people's thoughts on that. Tell me in the comments if you've been to see it, what you thought, whether you're being swept up in Barbie mania and going for pink. But yeah, that fabric I thought would work really well to create a similar look to Mia's dress. Now on to Tony. So Tony really just inspired me and fascinated me, and I just thought they all came across as really lovely people. They did, but Tony was just, I loved the way he just had his own ideas and he was just doing his own thing. It was just wonderful. Like the whole way through the series, he just, you know, broke the mould and did things a bit differently. And he came up with some great ideas for this made to measure challenge. So his gown was a very fitted, high neck, sleeveless bodice with darts. And then the first gown that you saw was this bubble hem skirt. So a sort of full skirt gathered at the waist. Oh, and I wanted to say as well, lots of people were doing gathering. There was a lot of gathering going on in this episode. And I didn't think about it, but one of our lovely members of staff this morning, Leanne, said to me, do you know, I was watching it and they never mentioned once using a gathering foot, and that would have really sped things up. And I thought, Leanne, you're absolutely right. Everybody did the gathers. They sewed the lines of stitches and then were gathering it. But you can actually get a gathering foot for your machine, which will do the gathering as you sew, and it will even attach it to a piece of fabric that's not gathered as well. And I did a tutorial video on that many years ago, so it's not like the sort of same style and quality as the videos are these days, but nonetheless it's been really popular, and it shows you how to do it. So I'm going to pop a link to that below for you, so that you're able to see that. But yeah, so Tony's skirt was gathered at the waist, and then he did pleats at the hem to create the bubble, but you can also use gathers to create the bubble at the hem as well. And then, yeah, you gather it up and you sew it to a lining, and it creates this sort of bubble effect and that fullness at the hem. And I thought Simplicity 8328 would be a great pattern to recreate Tony's look, because you could use bodice C, which has got it's a fitted bodice with no sleeves and a high neck, and then there's a skirt which is G, which has got a waistband, I think is gathered at the waist. Yeah, looks like it's gathered at the waist, and it's quite a full skirt, so I thought you could easily turn that into a bubble hem if you wanted to. That pattern runs up to a size 20, but if you need any more details about sizing and stuff, just check out the links below where you'll find the links to our website with all the details. And for Tony's, I just thought you could use our Prestige crepe. He used a black fabric again. He used a satin, so if you wanted to recreate that look, you could use the Mystique. But I also brought up our beautiful medium weight crepe, which is a John Caldor fabric. I've used this to make a few dresses. The famous red dress on the set is a Prestige crepe. It's a lovely fabric, and I made a Vicky Sews dress out of the plum colour not too long ago. So yeah, I thought you could create that one of Tony's in the Prestige, and then he transformed it. The bubble hem sort of came undone and transformed it into, the body stayed the same, but then there was a long fishtail skirt in a really wacky fabric. It was totally out there and created a really different look. So Tony, you're so different. And the pattern I thought you could use to recreate that look was Simplicity 8330, which again has got quite a number of different views. It's got like a halter neck design, and it's got princess seams, and then you've got the option for either a maxi length skirt, which is a sort of gentle sort of A-line with a slit at the side. You've got an option for a short version, which I've made before and absolutely loved it. I made it in scuba and I wore it loads. I used to wear it on holiday, and yeah, I didn't take it on this holiday actually, and I don't know why. I probably just forgot about it, to be honest. But it is a lovely pattern, and I really felt really special in that dress when I wore it. But then there's a version where you've got the fishtail at the bottom as well, so I thought you could take the skirt from this with the fishtail and recreate Tony's look, and that could attach to, you can make the bodice in the black fabric that I just showed you, the Prestige crepe, and then you could choose a really jazzy fabric like this crepe for the skirt if you wanted that contrast and that sort of different look that Tony created. So that was that one. And then finally onto Asma, who created a really simple sort of slash neck, almost t-shirt dress. And then, yeah, that transformed into something else. But for the simple slash neck t-shirt dress, I thought you could use Burda 6540. I've made this before, and what I did, because Asma's dress had sort of like I know, like a baggy sort of like the top sort of bagged out over the skirt. The skirt looked sort of relatively fitted, and then the top sort of hung over and bagged out. When I made this dress, I sewed some elastic in at the waist, and that created that look. I did put like a little waist tie on it as well, but you wouldn't have to do that. Like on the images of the dress, you'll see the little waist tie on my version, but you could omit that and just sew the elastic in, and then you'd get that bagged over look, and the simple sort of t-shirt outline. You could also, I think it was kind of sleeveless, Asma's was, whereas mine was a grown on sleeve that was almost like a cap sleeve, but you could easily slash that at a different point and make it more of a sleeveless version. So yeah, that's Burda 6540, which runs up to a size 20 and is for jersey fabrics, and it was a really useful dress to have in my wardrobe. I used to wear that quite a lot actually, and again, it's one I've probably just forgotten about really, but I thought you could make it in this gorgeous royal blue ritual jersey that we've got, which is another John Caldor, lovely quality, really beautiful colour, and would work really well for that dress, to recreate that look. And then finally, the dress that just blew my mind was Asma's. That then turned into this incredible full-length emerald green gown. It was just absolutely stunning, and it was so clever the way it transformed. You have to see it to believe it. It was absolutely wonderful. I couldn't believe how gorgeous it was. I haven't got a pattern that is exactly like Asma's. So Asma's had it had a V-neck at the front. It was a long fitted gown, a maxi dress, but then it was all about the big dramatic bow on the back of the dress, obviously appealing to Asma's obsession there, I'm sure. But the pattern I chose that has got the beautiful bow on the back detail, but it's got a different. At the front, it's got a slash neck, it's sleeveless, a fitted bodice, and then it's got a very full skirt, which I think is pleated. No, it doesn't say it's pleated, actually. It's just a flared skirt. It's just so full. It looks pleated on the pattern packet, but it's not actually pleated, I don't think, but incredibly full flared skirt. So real va-va-voom and wow factor. I mean, if you really wanted to recreate Asma's dress, you could alter the neckline and make it into a V-neck, and you could use a different skirt piece, pattern piece for the skirt, but you've certainly got the wow factor of the bow on the back of this one. This runs up to a size 20 as well, and the fabric I chose for that, going on the emerald green theme of Asma's, was our Duchess satin, which has got again the sheer side, the sheen side, and then the high shine side, and I thought that would make a gorgeous version of that dress. The only thing I think you'd have to sort of test and see how the bow would work, because I'm not sure if that might be a little bit heavy for the bow, but I thought if it was, what you could do is get a lighter weight fabric. I thought how lovely would it be to make the bow out of like a emerald green organza or something like that, as just another little bit of interesting detail on that dress. So yeah, that's all the patterns and fabrics, the tutorials, they're all linked below for you. I really hope you've enjoyed that today. So sad to see the sewing bee end, but I'll be here every week as usual with my usual Friday videos to keep inspiring you to sew. Don't forget you can sign up for our newsletter for a dose of sewing inspiration to your inbox every week as well. I always pop a link to that below. But thanks for watching, everybody. Tell me in the comments what you thought. What did you enjoy most? Did you think the right person won? And I'll look forward to seeing you next time.